In the waning years of World War II, the United States faced an unprecedented challenge: the housing and utilization of hundreds of thousands of Axis prisoners of war, POWs. Among this diverse group were German medical personnel who found themselves transported across the Atlantic to contribute to the American war effort from an unexpected front, the interior of a military hospital in Texas. This narrative delves into the experiences of these individuals as they adapted to a medical system vastly different from their own, shedding light on the intricate web of military logistics, prisoner labor, and healthcare practices during this tumultuous period. Camp Hearn, situated in the heart of Texas, was one of the largest POW camps in the United States from 1943 to 1946. Spanning approximately 720 acres, the facility was designed to accommodate up to 4,800 prisoners at its peak, including soldiers and a contingent of medical professionals. Guarded initially by units of the Texas State Guard and later by the 342nd Infantry Regiment, Camp Hearn was a self-contained community, complete with barracks, mess halls, recreation areas, and a hospital unit catering to both prisoners and, in some instances, U.S. military personnel. The camp was a microcosm of the broader war effort, a place where the complexities of military logistics intersected with the realities of wartime health care. To address domestic labor shortages, the War Department implemented a policy allowing POWs to be employed in various sectors. At Camp Hearn, agricultural labor became the cornerstone of prisoner employment. Many POWs worked on local farms under agricultural labor contracts, meticulously recorded in transportation logs. These agreements enabled prisoners to harvest crops, tend livestock, and perform other essential tasks, effectively contributing to the local economy. Beyond agriculture, POWs were employed in nearby canneries, lumber mills, and even railroad maintenance, showcasing their versatility and utility. The camp's internal newspaper frequently highlighted these efforts, emphasizing the POW's significant impact on the local community. Food distribution within Camp Hearn was governed by strict guidelines set forth by the War Department. Prisoners received rations equivalent to those of American soldiers, ensuring a standard level of nutrition. The camp administration made concerted efforts to supplement these rations with fresh produce from prisoner-tended gardens, a practice documented in Red Cross inspection reports. Wages earned by POWs were credited as coupons, exchangeable for additional goods at the camp's canteen. This system not only provided sustenance, but also introduced the prisoners to American consumer culture in a controlled environment. Local civilian attitudes towards the POWs were varied and complex, shaped by proximity to the war and personal experiences. Some community members appreciated the economic benefits stemming from the prisoners' labor, while others harbored resentment and suspicion. Local newspaper articles occasionally captured these sentiments, highlighting the tension between economic pragmatism and wartime patriotism. Although recorded incidents of friction were rare, they included escape attempts and misunderstandings between guards and prisoners. These incidents, often resolved through negotiations facilitated by camp officials, underscored the delicate balance of maintaining order and fostering understanding. Discipline within Camp Hearn was maintained through a combination of U.S. military oversight and self-governance among the prisoners. The camp's internal judicial system, supervised by the Provost Marshal General, addressed minor infractions, while more serious offenses were subject to military law. Medical access for prisoners was a priority, with facilities equipped to handle a range of ailments. The camp hospital, staffed by both American and German medical personnel, provided treatment under conditions that emphasized hygiene and modern medical practices. This collaboration offered a unique opportunity for cultural exchange, as German medical staff encountered American healthcare methods and technologies. Educational opportunities for POWs were extensive, facilitated by programs organized under the auspices of the YMCA. Classes in English, mathematics, and various trades were offered, aiming to productively occupy prisoners' time and prepare them for eventual repatriation. The camp's library, stocked with books in multiple languages, served as a hub for learning and cultural exchange. These educational initiatives subtly dismantled ideological barriers, exposing prisoners to new ideas and fostering an environment of intellectual curiosity. As the war drew to a close, attention shifted towards repatriation and re-education. Directives from the War Department outlined procedures for returning prisoners to their home countries, emphasizing the need for a smooth transition. Re-education programs, discreetly woven into camp activities, encouraged democratic principles and the rejection of militaristic ideologies. These efforts, though subtle, played a role in reshaping the perspectives of many POWs, preparing them for reintegration into post-war German society. The experiences of German medical personnel at Camp Herne offer a unique perspective on the intersection of war, medicine, and cultural exchange. Through their work in a U.S. military hospital, these individuals witnessed a healthcare system characterized by resources and organization that starkly contrasted with the conditions they had known. This encounter not only highlighted the disparities between Axis and Allied medical practices, but also underscored broader themes of resilience and adaptation in times of conflict. The story of Camp Herne and its inhabitants serves as a testament to the complexities of war, the power of human adaptability, and the enduring impact of cultural exchange. As the German medical personnel embarked on their daily duties within the confines of the Texas Military Hospital, their initial astonishment slowly transformed into a more profound and nuanced understanding of the systemic differences between the Allied and Axis approaches to wartime medicine. This understanding was not just rooted in the technical aspects of medical care, but also in the philosophical and cultural attitudes towards health and healing during a time of war. The environment of the hospital was characterized by its methodical organization and an evident abundance of resources, starkly contrasting with the scarcity and chaos they had experienced on the German front lines. From the outset, the German doctors and nurses were struck by the sheer scale and sophistication of the medical operations at the Texas hospital. The hospital operated with a clear hierarchy and structure, which was evident in the seamless coordination between various departments. Each unit, whether it was surgery, recovery, or rehabilitation, functioned like a well-oiled machine, with every member of the staff understanding their role and responsibilities within the broader system. Medical procedures were meticulously scheduled, and there was an emphasis on the use of advanced technologies and pharmaceuticals. Antibiotics, which were still considered a scarce commodity in Europe, were utilized liberally here, significantly reducing the incidence of infections and improving recovery times for wounded soldiers. This was a revelation for the German doctors, who had been accustomed to dealing with post-operative complications that often led to grim outcomes. The ready availability of such drugs seemed almost miraculous to those who had faced the grim realities of infection and disease amidst the shortages of the German medical supply chains. Another aspect that stood out to the German medical personnel was the hospital's commitment to cleanliness and sterilization. The sterilization processes employed by the U.S. military hospital were exemplary. The use of sterilization chambers for instruments and surgical environments was standard practice, ensuring a level of cleanliness that the German medical staff found both impressive and intimidating. This rigorous attention to hygiene not only minimized the risk of infection, but also instilled a sense of confidence in both the caregivers and the patients. Disposable instruments, though a novel concept to the Germans, highlighted the vast industrial capacity of the United States to produce and supply such materials. This capability underscored the broader logistical advantages enjoyed by the Allied forces, which extended beyond the battlefield to the very foundations of their medical care. The wards themselves were organized with an emphasis on rehabilitation and recovery. The Germans observed that soldiers were not just treated for their immediate injuries, but were also provided with comprehensive rehabilitation programs designed to restore their physical abilities and prepare them for reintegration into civilian life. This holistic approach was a testament to the foresight and planning of the U.S. military, ensuring that its soldiers returned home not merely as survivors of war, but as productive members of society. Physical therapy sessions were a common sight, with dedicated professionals working one-on-one with soldiers to rebuild their strength and confidence. Psychological support was also available, reflecting an understanding of the mental toll of war and the importance of addressing it alongside physical injuries. Initially, the German medical personnel were hesitant to engage with their American counterparts. The language barrier and the ever-present awareness of their status as prisoners of war created an atmosphere of caution. However, as time progressed, professional curiosity and mutual respect began to bridge the cultural divide. The hospital staff, including doctors, nurses, and orderlies, displayed a level of dedication and efficiency that was difficult to ignore. Training sessions and briefings were conducted regularly with an emphasis on continuous learning and adaptation to new medical advancements. This culture of ongoing education was something the German doctors were keen to observe, as it contrasted with the more rigid and hierarchical structures they were used to. The Americans' openness to new ideas and willingness to share knowledge was both surprising and enlightening, offering the Germans a glimpse of a different way of approaching medical practice. Conversations with the American staff, though initially limited, soon revealed the underlying ethos of the U.S. military medical system. A nurse explained that the goal was not only to save lives, but to enhance the quality of those lives post-recovery. The emphasis on mental health, physical therapy, and social reintegration was an aspect of care that the Germans had not previously prioritized to the same extent. This approach was indicative of a broader societal commitment to the well-being of individuals, even amidst the demands of war. It was a philosophy that spoke to the core values of the American system, where the health of the individual was seen as integral to the health of the nation. The German surgeons, while respecting the capabilities of their American counterparts, could not help but reflect on the implications of these observations. One surgeon quietly confided in another that the U.S. seemed to produce more healed men than Germany could muster in terms of replacements. This stark realization brought about an unexpected sense of fear, not of the physical destruction of war, but of the comprehensive competence that lay behind the Allied war machine. It was a competence that extended beyond military might to encompass the very foundations of society, including the care and rehabilitation of those who had fought and sacrificed for their country. In the broader context of Camp Hearn, the POWs continued to engage in various activities that contributed to both the camp's functioning and their own personal development. Educational programs were a significant aspect of life at the camp, with access to a range of subjects that included not only technical skills, but also lessons in democratic principles and governance. These programs were designed to prepare the POWs for a post-war world, subtly encouraging the adoption of values that aligned with those of the Allied powers. Classes in English, mathematics, and science were available, along with discussions on political philosophy and the workings of democratic institutions. For many of the POWs, these classes were an unexpected opportunity to broaden their horizons and consider new ways of thinking about the world. Cultural exchanges, though limited, did occur, contributing to a gradual dismantling of preconceived notions held by both the POWs and the American personnel. Music and theater performances, organized within the camp, served as a common ground where differences were momentarily set aside in favor of shared enjoyment. These events, while seemingly innocuous, played a role in humanizing the enemy and fostering a sense of shared humanity amidst the backdrop of conflict. The sound of a familiar song or the laughter of a comedy performance could momentarily erase the divisions of war, reminding everyone involved of their common humanity. The local civilian population, whose views on the POWs ranged from economic opportunism to suspicion, played a crucial role in shaping the social dynamics surrounding Camp Hearn. The prisoners' labor was vital to the local economy, particularly in agriculture and small-scale industry, and this economic interdependence often tempered negative sentiments. However, the presence of Axis soldiers on American soil remained a contentious issue for some, reflecting the complex interplay of fear, curiosity, and pragmatism that characterized civilian attitudes during this period. For the residents of the surrounding area, the camp was a constant reminder of the war's global reach and the interconnectedness of their own lives with events unfolding half a world away. As the war drew to a close, the focus shifted towards repatriation and re-education efforts. The U.S. government and military authorities were keenly aware of the opportunity to influence the future trajectory of the POWs, many of whom would return to a Europe in flux. Initiatives were launched to provide the prisoners with knowledge and skills that would be valuable in a post-war context, emphasizing democratic governance, economic reconstruction, and the importance of international cooperation. This was not just a pragmatic decision, but a reflection of a broader vision for a world rebuilt on principles of peace and collaboration. The experiences of the German medical personnel and their fellow POWs at Camp Hearn were emblematic of the broader themes of resilience, adaptation, and cultural exchange that defined this period. While the immediate realities of war and imprisonment were harsh, the exposure to different systems and ideologies planted seeds of change that would bear fruit in the years to come. The efficiency and resourcefulness of the U.S. military medical system served as a powerful testament to the potential for human ingenuity and compassion, even amidst the darkest chapters of history. In the end, the lessons learned at Camp Hearn were not just about medicine or military strategy, but about the enduring power of understanding, empathy, and shared humanity to transcend the divisions of conflict and lay the foundations for a more hopeful future. The German medical personnel, having settled into their roles within the U.S. military hospital at Camp Hearn, embarked on a journey of profound adaptation and learning. Initially overwhelmed by the advanced state of American medical technology, their feelings of awe gradually gave way to a deeper comprehension of the systematic approach that underpinned the efficiency they observed. This journey was not only about acclimating to new technologies, but also about embracing a new philosophy of care that would forever alter their professional perspectives. Upon their arrival at Camp Hearn, the German doctors and nurses were immediately struck by the meticulous organization of the medical facilities. Each section of the hospital was dedicated to specific aspects of care and recovery, a far cry from the makeshift arrangements they were accustomed to on the front lines. The sight of specialized wards, each equipped with the necessary tools and resources to provide comprehensive care, was both inspiring and humbling. Unlike their previous experiences, where improvisation was often necessary due to resource constraints, here every ward was fully equipped for its intended purpose, from initial treatment to full rehabilitation. This level of organization reflected a broader commitment to excellence and efficiency that permeated every aspect of the hospital's operation. One of the most striking aspects of the U.S. military hospital was its holistic approach to the rehabilitation of soldiers. The emphasis was not solely on treating immediate physical injuries. There was a concerted effort to prepare soldiers for reintegration into civilian life. This approach was facilitated by a variety of programs designed to address both physical and psychological needs. The physical therapy units, equipped with the latest devices and staffed by personnel trained in modern rehabilitation techniques, were particularly impressive. The German medical team, used to prioritizing the immediate demands of wartime medicine, found this focus on long-term recovery to be a revelation. They observed how this comprehensive approach not only improved physical healing, but also aided in the psychological well-being of the soldiers, providing them with a sense of purpose and hope for the future. Another significant difference that the German personnel noted was the widespread use of antibiotics. In Germany, shortages of essential medical supplies were a constant challenge, but the American military hospital was well stocked with these crucial drugs. The German doctors were astounded by the impact of antibiotics on recovery rates, as infections could be treated more effectively, reducing the length of hospital stays and improving overall outcomes. This access to adequate medical supplies and the resulting efficiency in patient care underscored the broader disparities between the American and German wartime experiences. The logistical operations supporting the hospital were equally impressive. Supplies were delivered with precision and regularity, ensuring that the hospital remained well equipped at all times. The German medical staff witnessed firsthand the efficiency of the American supply chain, which was capable of maintaining a steady flow of medical equipment and pharmaceuticals despite the ongoing demands of the war. This logistical prowess was emblematic of the broader American war effort, characterized by industrial strength and resource availability. It was a testament to the organizational capabilities that supported not only the military but also the overall health and welfare of those within its care. Beyond the technical and logistical aspects, cultural exchange between the German medical personnel and their American counterparts became a regular feature of life at Camp Hearn. Initially, language barriers and wartime enmity posed challenges, but these gradually eroded as both sides found common ground in their shared medical mission. Through collaborative efforts, the German staff had the opportunity to learn new techniques and methodologies, expanding their understanding of modern medicine. In turn, they shared their own experiences from the front lines, offering insights that contributed to a mutual enrichment of knowledge. These interactions fostered a spirit of camaraderie and respect, bridging cultural divides and highlighting the universal nature of medical care. The presence of German POWs at Camp Hearn also had broader implications for the local community. The camp's operations provided economic benefits, offering employment opportunities and stimulating local businesses. Initially, some members of the community harbored suspicions towards the POWs, their perceptions shaped by the wartime atmosphere and the pervasive influence of propaganda. However, the visible contributions of the POWs to the local economy gradually softened these attitudes, fostering a more nuanced perspective. As the community began to see the POWs not as enemies but as individuals contributing to the common good, barriers began to break down, paving the way for a more harmonious coexistence. Educational programs within the camp played a significant role in reshaping the POW's outlook. These programs, designed to promote democratic values and prepare the prisoners for post-war life, were structured to encourage critical thinking and open discourse. Subjects ranged from history and political science to practical skills that would be valuable upon return to civilian life. The German medical personnel, along with other POWs, actively participated in these classes, contributing to discussions and engaging with new ideas. This emphasis on education and cultural exchange was part of a broader Allied strategy to encourage democratic principles and facilitate the reintegration of POWs into post-war society. It reflected a recognition of the potential for ideological transformation through exposure to different systems and values. As the war neared its conclusion, the atmosphere at Camp Hearn began to shift. The prospect of repatriation loomed large in the minds of the POWs, including the German medical staff. The end of the war would bring new challenges and uncertainties, both for those returning to a devastated Germany and for those who had adapted to life in the camp. The experiences of the German medical personnel at Camp Hearn highlighted the transformative power of exposure to a different medical and cultural environment. The advanced state of American medical practices and the emphasis on rehabilitation underscored the potential for positive outcomes even in the midst of conflict. The exchange of knowledge and ideas fostered mutual understanding and respect, contributing to a broader narrative of resilience and adaptation in the face of adversity. The legacy of these interactions would extend beyond the immediate context of the war, leaving an indelible mark on those involved. For the German medical personnel, their time at Camp Hearn represented a period of professional growth and personal reflection, challenging previous assumptions and opening new possibilities for the future. As the camp prepared for the eventual departure of its inhabitants, the lessons learned and relationships formed would continue to resonate, shaping the post-war landscape in ways that were yet to be fully understood. In the end, the experience at Camp Hearn was more than just a chapter in the lives of those who lived through it. It was a testament to the power of human connection and the capacity for growth and understanding even amidst the backdrop of war. The German medical personnel, having been exposed to a wealth of knowledge and a different way of life, returned home with broadened horizons and a renewed sense of purpose. Their time at the camp, marked by collaboration and cultural exchange, served as a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is room for learning, compassion, and the hope of building a better future. The integration of German medical personnel into the American military hospital system at Camp Hearn unfolded in ways that were both unexpected and enlightening for those involved. As the Second World War drew closer to its conclusion, the German doctors and nurses, accustomed to the harsh realities of their own frontline medical experiences, found themselves adapting to a vastly different environment. This adjustment was marked by a continuous exchange of medical practices and philosophies that transcended the boundaries of national allegiance, forming a unique tapestry of collaboration that would prove to be beneficial for both sides. The American hospital at Camp Hearn was a hub of activity, its corridors bustling with the constant movement of medical staff, patients, and administrative personnel. The atmosphere was one of urgency, but also of hope and determination, as the staff worked tirelessly to provide the best care possible under the circumstances. The German medical team was initially tasked with logistical support, such as transporting supplies and assisting in non-critical procedures. Their role was largely auxiliary at first, and they were expected to lend their hands to whatever tasks were necessary to keep the hospital running smoothly. However, their expertise did not go unnoticed for long. Recognizing their potential, the American staff began involving them in more complex medical tasks, allowing them to observe and learn advanced techniques in real time. One of the striking aspects of the American approach was the emphasis on rehabilitation and the reintegration of wounded soldiers. The hospital's focus was not merely on treating injuries, but on restoring soldiers to a state where they could resume their civilian lives post-war. This holistic approach to healing was a revelation to the German doctors, who were more familiar with the brutal necessity of frontline medicine, where immediate survival often took precedence over long-term recovery. The American philosophy of care sought to address not just the physical wounds of war, but also the psychological and emotional scars, aiming to heal the whole person rather than just the injury. The use of antibiotics, particularly penicillin, was another area where the German medical staff saw a stark contrast to their previous experiences. The widespread availability and application of antibiotics in the American hospital significantly reduced infection rates and improved recovery times. This was a stark departure from the limited supplies and high mortality rates that plagued German medical facilities during the war. The German doctors noted the systematic approach to infection control, which included rigorous sterilization protocols and the use of disposable instruments. These practices were instrumental in maintaining high standards of hygiene and preventing the spread of disease, and they were impressed by the American commitment to medical excellence and innovation. Training sessions were regularly conducted where American medical personnel shared their methods and reasoning behind various procedures. The German doctors were often invited to such sessions, where they could witness firsthand the detailed planning and execution that characterized the American medical system. These sessions were invaluable in fostering an environment of mutual respect and professional development. The German personnel, in turn, shared their own experiences and techniques, contributing to a collaborative atmosphere that was rare in the context of wartime relations. This exchange of knowledge was not just an academic exercise. It was a profound moment of cultural and professional convergence, where both sides could learn from each other and improve their practices. Cultural exchanges extended beyond the confines of the hospital. German POWs were encouraged to participate in educational programs designed to introduce them to American democratic values and consumer culture. These programs, supported by organizations like the YMCA, provided classes in English language and American history, arts, and sciences. The aim was to prepare the POWs for life after captivity, equipping them with skills and knowledge that would be beneficial upon their return to Germany. The POWs engaged in discussions about democracy, freedom, and individual rights, concepts that were unfamiliar to many of them, but which began to resonate as they learned more about them. These programs were more than educational. They were transformative experiences that challenged the POWs to reconsider their beliefs and assumptions. Within the broader community surrounding Camp Hearn, the presence of German POWs continued to elicit mixed reactions. While some local residents remained wary of the former enemy soldiers, others recognized the economic benefits of their labor and the potential for cultural understanding. The POWs contributed to local agriculture and industries, helping to alleviate labor shortages caused by the war. This interaction with civilians often led to informal exchanges, where cultural barriers were gradually broken down. Conversations at local markets, shared meals, and community events allowed both sides to see each other as human beings rather than as enemies. As the war neared its end, repatriation efforts began to take shape. For many German POWs, the prospect of returning home was filled with uncertainty. The ideological dismantling experienced through their time in the American camp had sown seeds of change. Accustomed to a society steeped in authoritarianism, the exposure to democratic principles and individual freedoms presented a new paradigm for consideration. They faced questions about what kind of Germany they wanted to return to and what role they could play in shaping its future. The medical personnel, in particular, faced a unique challenge. The knowledge and skills they had acquired during their time at Camp Hearn stood in stark contrast to the medical practices they had left behind in Germany. As they prepared for repatriation, there was a palpable tension between the desire to implement these new methodologies and the realities of a war-torn homeland. The German medical personnel were keenly aware that the practices they had learned could vastly improve healthcare in their own country, but they were also conscious of the resistance they might face from traditionalists and those who were reluctant to adopt foreign innovations. The transition back to civilian life was not without its complexities. For some, the integration of American medical practices into German systems would become a lifelong pursuit. They became advocates for modernization and reform, pushing for changes in medical education and practice that reflected the lessons they had learned. For others, the return to Germany meant a reversion to familiar, though less advanced, medical practices. The experiences at Camp Hearn, however, left an indelible mark on all who participated. They had witnessed firsthand the benefits of a more holistic approach to healthcare, and they carried those lessons with them as they rebuilt their lives. In the aftermath of the war, the influence of these experiences began to manifest within the broader context of German society. The German medical personnel, having witnessed the efficacy and humanity of the American medical system, became advocates for change. Their efforts contributed to post-war reforms in German medical education and practice, emphasizing the importance of rehabilitation, hygiene, and the use of antibiotics. These changes were not immediate, and they faced challenges and setbacks along the way, but their persistence and dedication eventually led to significant improvements in the German healthcare system. The story of the German doctors and nurses at Camp Herne is a testament to the transformative power of collaboration and cultural exchange. It illustrates how, even in the midst of conflict, individuals can find common ground and work towards a shared goal of healing and progress. As historians reflect on this period, the legacy of these interactions continues to resonate, highlighting the enduring impact of human resilience and the pursuit of knowledge in the face of adversity. The experiences at Camp Herne served as a reminder that even in times of war, there is potential for understanding, growth, and cooperation that can transcend national boundaries and lead to a better future for all. The conclusion of the narrative surrounding the German medical personnel at Camp Herne encapsulates the broader themes of resilience, adaptation, and the power of cultural exchange. As the war ended and repatriation commenced, the German doctors and nurses returned to a homeland that was both familiar and irrevocably altered by the conflict. The knowledge and practices they had acquired in the American military hospital provided them with new perspectives on medical care, which they carried with them into post-war Germany. The transition back to German society was fraught with challenges. Many of the medical personnel found themselves at the forefront of efforts to modernize and reform the healthcare system. Their exposure to advanced medical technologies and holistic rehabilitation methods during their time in the U.S. camp positioned them as advocates for change. They championed the integration of antibiotics, rigorous sterilization practices, and comprehensive approaches to patient care, drawing on the lessons learned from their American counterparts. These efforts were not without resistance. The German medical community, recovering from the war's devastation, was initially hesitant to adopt foreign practices. However, the persistence of the returning medical personnel gradually influenced their peers, leading to incremental changes in medical education and hospital administration. Over time, their advocacy contributed to significant improvements in the German healthcare system, aligning it more closely with the standards they had observed at Camp Herne. The broader impact of their experiences extended beyond the medical field. The educational and cultural programs at the camp had introduced the German POWs to democratic principles and individual freedoms, shaping their perspectives on governance and society. As they reintegrated into civilian life, many became proponents of democratic values, contributing to the rebuilding of a war-torn nation with a focus on collaboration and progress. Reflecting on the legacy of Camp Herne, historians note the enduring influence of these experiences on post-war Germany. The camp served as a microcosm of reconciliation and learning, where ideological barriers were subtly dismantled through shared goals and mutual respect. The story of the German medical personnel is a testament to the transformative potential of cross-cultural interactions, even amidst the adversities of war. In the end, the narrative of Camp Herne offers valuable insights into the complexities of war, the resilience of the human spirit, and the capacity for growth and understanding. It underscores the notion that, even in the darkest times, there is room for learning and cooperation, paving the way for a more hopeful and interconnected future. The experiences of the German medical personnel and their fellow POWs highlight the possibilities that arise when individuals from different backgrounds come together with a common purpose, leaving a lasting impact on both themselves and the societies they return to.